It's another edition of the Mr. Black Show. I'm your host, Mr. Black. For anybody who is new to the page, please subscribe, click the bell icon to get all the notifications of the latest episode. And today is my guest. You know, he don't like me to say this, but he's my mentor. He's been my big brother to me. And like, he's been one of those father figures in my life that I didn't think I needed, but he's been there since day one. You know, cool story. You know, I came out of coma, and you know, one of his members of his church, Carlene, shout out to her, great heart. And then I looked at her, I was just like, the first thing I said was, "Where's Steve?" She was just like, "Oh, Steve is coming." And then I was just like, my mom was like, "Who's Steve?" "Oh, that's my dad." I don't know why I said it. I ran with it. You know, to this day, people like still mention it, but you know, he's my dog, he's my big brother, everything. Like, he literally been mentoring me since the age of 22, man. And you know, my guest, Pastor Stephen Hutchinson, man. Thank you, man. And what's up, Steve, man? How you feeling, man? Talk to my people. Talk to them.
You did let them know about that awkward moment. Coming out of the corner like, "Wait, my dad." I was like, "What? Dad?"
How did you react when you heard that?
I said the same thing. I was like, "What? Your dad?" I'm like, "What? That's heavy." I mean, the first thing to say, you know, it was funny actually. I could not stop laughing. I was like, "What?" But I did say, let me go. I had to come in and see how you doing.
What did she say? Like, how was like her face? Like, what she was telling you? Like, what she was.
When I found, actually, what happened was once I found out, I guess she was trying to balance the seriousness of the situation that you were really sick, and then also that the first thing you say is, Stephen is your dad, so it's balancing those two. It's serious but yet jovial at the same time. So she was like, "Oh yeah, Black is really, Black is sick, like he's in a coma." And I'm like, "Oh my God, really?" And he was like, "Yeah." And the first thing he did when he came out, he was like, "Where's Steve? That's my dad." And I was like, "Wait, what?" So I'm like, "His dad? Like, what was he thinking about?" Yeah, it was it's funny, and it was touching and funny at the same time.
I mean, listen, man, you know me personally. You know that my life is serious and funny. You heard my testimony. You looking like, this man makes me laugh. It touched my heart.
Yeah.
So, how you feeling, man? Like, how you holding on during this whole COVID?
Adjusting your schedule. Like now, I've completely adapted now. So this is the way it's going to be for a while. I guess forever. Doing. The Black church. We be hugging, grabbing each other, and so now our first instinct is, we all flinch now. You know what I'm saying? So now it's that second guess. Should I hug? Should I touch? For church wise, as far as home life, again, it's the same thing. You have to make the adjustments. Adjustments for scheduling. Where you can go. I mean, now things are opening up a little bit more. But right now, like anything, I think once after a certain amount of time, you develop these new habits, and so now I think I've adjusted, developed. I know where I can't go, things that I can do, and so I'm kind of used to it. I mean, I kind of missed the little freedom of hopping on a plane. I missed that vacation, hopping on the plane. I normally take my yearly vacation.
Yes, around this
clear
time.
the mind. Yeah, I hit my reset. Actually, this would be the time. I would normally hit my reset button this week. It's always this week. From this week until about September, I always hit that reset to come back charged up for the new year. I mean, for September, the closing out of the year. But now, no reset. So
basically, how you adjusting to what's going on with your church? What are some adjustments that you did to help with the people who can't come to church, obviously, to the lockdown? What are some of the things that you adjust for the people?
Well, one of the things I got to shout out my nephew. He's into IT. He's into, and then I think we've always trying to. It caught us a little flat-footed because we wasn't really tech, technologically there all the way to streamline church. So it took us some time to really catch up. Where this is the way the church is going. We were so dependent on in-person experience, and so we was heavily on that. And of course, our demographics for church, we have an older population, so they're not that tech savvy.
Yeah.
And so we've mastered the in-person experience at church. You've been at church. We've mastered that in-person experience. You can feel it, the vibe, the love, the room. We've mastered that. And then when COVID hit, now we had to transfer all of that online, try to recreate that experience of church, although we're not at church, for those viewers at home. And after, it was difficult because I think we was trying to structure church like in person. And we realized that formula wasn't working, that it didn't come off well, it didn't play well on the camera. Well, now that you're on the camera, it's completely different.
Yeah.
Than being in person. Like the energy in the room when you're saying a sermon, you can ride that energy. Now it's just me and a camera, and that's it. And so now your preparation has to be different. Your church's big call and response is like, can I get an amen?
Amen.
God is good all the time.
Yeah, God is good.
Yeah, all the time God is good. So we anticipated these call and response moments. Now they weren't there.
So how do you adjust, like, when you hear the elder saying that, preach, you better preach. Like, how you missed the ad-libs?
So even in that moment, if for somebody that's not used to church, you got to think of it as almost like cheerleaders. And not necessarily cheerleaders, but someone really, we say a hype man, where somebody say, come on, preach, bro. And so that gives you that extra boost of not necessarily confidence. It gives you some confidence. It makes you know that you hit the right message, and it tells you that to stay there with the point. It's almost like somebody doing this. Yeah.
Yeah.
That word resonated with somebody. Now that's not there, so I have to assume, right? In my head, I'm assuming that the point that I'm making is resonating, and I don't know if I should stay there longer. Normally, you can extend that point where you can really drive home that point. Now you don't know, so you have to visualize that at home they understand what you're saying. Secondly, it made me slow down in my enunciation, like I'm doing right now. Where now every word, since they're not there, it has to be a lot slower, a lot cool. I guess more thought out, not mechanical, but more like, do you understand what I'm saying? Because I really needed you to hear this kind of talking like I'm doing right now. And so, and making sure eye contact with the camera, looking away, and so that was an adjustment. Shouting was an adjustment because we shout.
Yeah.
and that was an adjustment because how does shouting play off on the camera? I could be in church and be like, running around. You might be sitting at home going like, what the deal? Right?
Great point.
Right. And a lot of visitors that view us that may not be church people, right? They don't understand how church is. This might be their first experience. They probably seen Black church on TV, and they don't know the whole. So me shouting and running around, and they're like, "What's going on?" So,
great point.
It's a lot. It was a lot. It's a lot of adjustment.
Great point. You said something because when I used to go to church, And I used to always tell people, like, I get it, but if you just walk into like a live field of a church, you see everybody running around, you're looking like,
what's going on?
Right. And even for the people who's in church, it's kind of like this doesn't translate well to television at all.
Right.
You know, you have to be in the atmosphere.
You have to
feel
be
what's
there.
going on.
Right. And to be fair, it's almost as if, you know, everybody and their emotional release and the running represents this freedom. You know what I mean? That so when you feel God, you know the deal. When you feel like this moment is resonating, that God you felt His presence, and it does lead to, you know, this is our outward experience. So we run, we shout, you know, similar to any basketball game where something happened, you go, yes. This is the same thing spiritually. Our spirits do it, but it's just now, since it's just me, I don't know what you're doing at home, because you are now multitasking. You're not only maybe watching me, but you're probably cooking. You're probably shuffling through mail. So there's multiple things now that you're going on with, where in church, it's just church. All your attention is just me. Now you're multitasking. It's a whole bunch of different things. And so I think right now we're just trying to find a lane. And I think for me, it's more conversation. I do less shouting, and I'm more conversation. More like, okay, I'm walking through the scripture. And so that's the pattern that right now I have for us. I'm sitting instead of standing.
Yeah, I know this guy.
Yeah, I do that a lot more, because I believe that's what works for me. I'm going to try to talk people through these times.
The one thing I realized that you also do, like, of course, like, you know, you probably don't know this, but like, I do tune in. Sometimes I always tune in, and you said something like, you may be doing something else. And I kind of chuck in my head. I was just like, I be cleaning. I be cleaning the whole house. And when I look up, I see you, but yet one thing that you incorporated was pictures. You know, when you was talking about the bread, you compared it to like when you actually took your time, and you actually didn't take your time. The bread, excuse me,
no problem.
The bread was more flatter, you know. But your point was, you cannot look to your past. Whatever you got, whatever you have to do, go and pick up, because God trying to take you to that level. And you also connected with the woman with the I forgot which story, where she looked back, she turned to a pillar of salt. You know, you compared it to that.
Wife,
yes, you compared it to that. And without those pictures, I know what it is, because I was in an atmosphere. But to some people who don't know, you bring up a great point where maybe it's their first time seeing church. And you said on those pictures, you're looking like, oh, okay, I get it. So I definitely understand what you mean, where you make it in more, what we say during the podcast and media is like, you made it more TV friendly. It's TV friendly. It's TV friendly.
Right. You can't be in the presence, right? You can't be in the room. And so I have to do my best to explain the point visually more. Since you can't physically be there, I have to visually try to explain it, or illustration is way more important now, so that you can get the point. The whole bread point was the whole sense of urgency. And I don't want to re-preach it. They're going to have to go back and look at it. That for the Jewish culture, they have matzah, challah, matzah and challah. So matzah is without yeast, and so it takes about 18 minutes to make, and God instituted that this whole Passover, so that they remember the urgency that they left Egypt, that they didn't have time to wait, that you take what you have, make the bread as quick as you can, so that once the morning hit, you can get out of Egypt. The whole point was that when the time opportunity presents itself, you don't want to wait. You want to take what you have. And most people believe they're not ready for the time of opportunity. And God was saying, I can use whatever you have, and I can make it ready, even if it don't look as good enough. That's what I use the bread comparison. Yes, the bread doesn't look as as appetizing because matzah is like crackers and it's kind of you see, and it doesn't look like challah bread. But what God was trying to say, take what you have, and I can make it ready, but you have to go. And so that was the point. The window of opportunity that we have in life, everybody has these windows of opportunities. And one of the things about procrastination, it makes you think that it's this window of opportunity is going to come around again. And you never know that. That's, first of all, that's just arrogance to assume that you're going to get another chance at this opportunity, to think that it could come around again. And that's what we all believe. But I believe when God opens up these windows, we have to pack up and go. So that was the point. Don't neglect or don't take full advantage of the opportunities that you have in life, because they may not ever come around again.
That's the word right there.
Yeah, especially if you're coming from a past that's terrible. When you get an opportunity to go. Yeah.
Damn, talking to them. So, so what are some of the feedback that you got from this style of preaching that you made it more TV friendly? What are some of the feedbacks you get from some of the viewers?
Well, members wise, it was difficult because, first of all, the length of service is not as long, because now if you think about the services, we cut out how offering is done. You remember how offering is done. People get up out of their seat.
Yeah.
Then there's maybe testimonies where people in the congregation will get up and say something what they've been through during the week. So time now is shorter. It's a shorter service. Secondly, you don't have people's attention, right? I don't have that much. I'm fighting with what you have going at home. So I know that if I don't get service done in about an hour, maybe 40 minutes, I've lost you. And so I try not to have we try not to have a hour and a half of the service. We call it hour of power. The word that I have is maybe 26 minutes tops.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah, because I understand that people are home, but you're not trying to sit in front of your computer all day. Right, and you're not watching me all day. And so what I want to do is give you a word that you can have, or you can have for that day, that you can put down on your list. Okay, time to give you a word in 20 minutes, something kind of motivational, inspirational, plus connecting with God, and I send you on your way. And that's the model. You know what I'm saying? I look at it like a multivitamin. Right now, we like a multivitamin that you take on Sunday morning with some worship, with some God, get your spiritual life together. That's it.
So I guess it's a kind of a two-part question. So part one of the question is, what feedback have the youth gave you about it, and what's the feedback that the older people gave you about it?
And it's drastically different. The older want 2 hours. It was like, it's way. And they used to, for those of you that never been to church, we used to be in church all day.
Yeah.
we short for us 3 hours. So we will go to Sunday school.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you. Like, the audio's cutting out.
It did? So you hear me now?
Yeah.
So we'll go to church from like 10 o'clock, Sunday school. And then from 10 to about 11:30 Sunday. Then we'll go to main worship, we call it.
Yeah.
That's from like 12. That could be like 12 to like 2:30. And then there's a break, or maybe longer. Then there's a break, and we come up for the evening. So, and then evening service will start maybe at 5 o'clock. So we be in church all day Sunday. For the older generation, they're coming out of the time where they spent all day at church. So now you took 1 day to 1 hour. They're like, oh, it's hour. Yeah, first. That. Oh, we need.
Yo, just cut it out. Yo, just cut it out again. Dang.
It is.
Yeah, it's good enough. It's good.
So the older folk, maybe because I'm moving around, the older folk, and I understand them. They wanted it more. They wanted 3 hours long, 2 hours long, and now, and so we kind of adjusted, trying to sing a little bit more songs. The young people, they're fine. Young people are fine with it. You know how they are.
I mean, and weirdly, I'm kind of the middle child now. Like, what's my age? Like, I get it. Like, I'll be real true. Listen, the church was the most 2 hours. I'm good. Just give me the word, testimony, offering, and I'm good. I'm good. I get it. You know, you want, because certain older people look forward to being in church all day. Like, they set their whole schedule. They'll tell their grandkids or the kids, I'm at church. You know that, all right, you drop me off at 8 o'clock, and then I'll be back at 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah. Yeah. That's coming back from slavery days. You know what I mean? That black church experience, that Sunday off from slavery. You know what I mean? That it's coming back from them. Where this was their opportunity to get away from massa, where they had these church services. So it's from that. And then of course the black church has been that place for everything. It wasn't just God, it's about community, it's about fellowship, it's about
everything,
the problems. It's political choices, it's stress, it's how you're parenting. It was everything for them. So I understand now it's different. It's online. It's an hour. Fellowship, touching somebody, being with somebody that says, oh, I understand you. I see you. You know, it's not just hearing your pain. It's I see you. I recognize you. A hug. That's what I'm saying. A tap on the back and say, you're going to be all right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's different. Yeah.
All of that's where we get our emotional support, our spiritual support, our financial support. And that Sunday mornings are that first day of the week, and it gives you the strength for the remainder of the week. That's why it's an experience that's like no other. It's no other experience that you get.
So let's backtrack. How you became a pastor?
Man, that's a good question. You gotta ask God.
So bump that. Let me backtrack this.
Yeah.
Did you always knew that you will become a pastor? What was your original goal that you had in mind for your life?
Well, I was into. I really wanted to do. I was doing marketing. I was doing email marketing. I was in publishing.
Really?
Yeah, I was doing email marketing and I was doing publishing. I was working for a publishing company. And
I never knew that.
Yeah, and originally I really thought I was going to be a health administrator to work for some hospital somewhere where I knew I was always going to do something with people. Oh, I knew that. I knew that. But then I was doing like marketing. Yeah, you know, I went to school at LIU for 2 years, and then I need money. I need some money. So money was calling. So I got a job at a publishing company, worked in data entry, went from data entry, and I kept getting promoted to end up being like the manager. Then they were putting up for a director, and I stayed with that because it was paying. You know what I mean? Not that I loved it, it's because it was paying. So I was really following the money, right? I was young, and I was making as much money as a grown up. I figured.
Were you in church at the time?
I was, but I was playing drums. But I was playing drums, so I wasn't. Of course I was in church, but you know I didn't think church was
gonna be. You was a drummer, man. Like
I was playing the drums, but I never foreseen myself. I knew I would always be in church. I would help church, but never think about running the church or being a pastor of the church. I would help it. I would still do things in the community, but I'm trying to get some money, and so church was never anything like I was thinking about. It was I would help. And then again, I was doing publishing, and then I don't know. It was one of those moments. It was odd after being in publishing for about 10 years. 2008, I felt like God was like, "Yo, this is it." And I tell you the truth, I resigned, and that 1 year. I was in publishing for about 10 years. 2008, I felt like God was like, "Yo, this is it." And I tell you the truth, I resigned, and that 1 year. I felt like God was like, "Yo, this is it." And I tell you the truth, I resigned, and that one same day. Same day, I put in my resignation. That same day, not 2 week notice. I just knew that it was it. The thing is, you start knowing that this career is over for me. Like this, you start hearing that timing in your life where you know that things are about to change, and it's almost a build up, and you start putting it off because I don't want to make it seem like it just happened overnight. I started getting these thoughts that this was not the career I needed to be in. Like I needed to make a change, and you put it aside because it's paying the bills, right? And then what do you do next? And so I'm thinking about what I'm going to do next. And then I thought about church. Now I started thinking I'm going to work for the church. But then I'm like, but church don't got no money. You know what I mean? So how
to other people, y'all do?
No. Church. If you knew the budget that churches pay, especially when you're talking about our community. Okay, you're talking about our community where I'm we're in the heart of Brownsville. So you're talking about from their salaries, and some people from their salaries, even if they get 10%, that still ain't nothing. And you're talking about small. No.
But let's talk about this.
I'm not talking about this. Okay. I'm not saying it's not nothing. That nothing in the sense it's something. Like it's something that they're given. It's a lot of money from their salary, especially when it comes to when I'm talking about people make it seem like we pastors are living off of that and bagging up their money.
I mean, big bro, like I said before, like, yo, I know, but you also gotta look from the outside looking in, dogs. Like people see the cutthroat dollars, they see the TD Jakes. They see all these big time pastors riding jets, the Lambos and stuff like that. So they get the whole idea of y'all get money or not. We break down a smaller scale. The local churches, you see the pastor driving the latest Benz, but then you're looking like, well, he's getting his money. Like this church looks like that. So this is why people say what they say. And
that's the anomaly.
What do you say about that? Like explain that.
I would never. I would never use church money ever. And in fact, I made it my mission not even to know how much money we take in during the week, not to know what's going on as far as, because I want to make sure every dollar that comes in goes back out to the community as far as feeding, as far as helping our groceries, helping those with rent that can't pay their rent. Every dollar that comes in, we make sure it circles back into our community. It's never done. It's never done where it's coming to the church. It may pay the light bill, may pay the bills to keep the lights on, but never. That's what made me resistant to work for the church, because I understood that there wasn't no money coming in, and not that much. And at that point in my life, money was driving. That's what I'm saying. Money was driving. Yeah, I'm saying I wanted money. Then, as you grow up, realize my passion, my love of community, my love of people was driving me. And I realized that was my purpose. Because sometimes it's not the money, it's the purpose. And that's what pushed me. Purpose. I started to say, you know what? I had money, but I wasn't unhappy. I was so unhappy. Like, I just didn't feel, I felt out of place. Now, helping the community, that has brought such a joy in my life where, it's basically for free. This is for free. And anything I do is on the side, preaching engagements that you go out and do. You take that in and you live off of that and your savings that you had. Then I was doing, of course, side of the hustles as far as all the other little things that I was trying to do to make sure to maintain a lifestyle for my kids. Of course, it was never like that. But church, for me, I guess for my parents, the people that I've seen, church is always the Creflo Dollars and the TD Jakes. Those are the anomalies. Those are the 1.5% out of the people, pastors that are struggling. know what I mean? They're grinding just as any other employment. They're people see the crypto dollars and the TD Jakes and think that that's how everybody is. Nah, bro.
True.
We ain't living
again.
I don't know about anybody else. I know personally, but I only can speak to and no. This is I got several friends in the church and pastors, and I know their hearts, and they doing this passion. You know, too, Pastor Gabe. I know tons of people that I want to keep rattling. Hey, we doing it for the love. We really want to see our communities better. We want to see people better. We want people to live healthy lives. And that's what motivated me. That's all I want.
So to ask your question, what are some of the stuff that you have done in the community? Because you mentioned you're the man in the community, you're the man of the people. You're not doing this for the the love for the money. You're doing it basically like I want to help others. So people want to know, what are you doing for the community as your church? No one else's church, but your church. Your church. What have your church have done ever since you became pastor?
Right.
Done for the community.
So in 2008, when I resigned, we had a project that we said we had a vision to open a school and housing. And we wanted to address those needs. We went around and surveyed most of Brownville, right? So I went knocking on doors in the hood, knocking on the doors, waited by the train, by the number 3 train, Saratoga, and asked people what does this community need?
You did that yourself?
Absolutely. It was a group of us. Absolutely. Knocked on doors, knocked on people's doors, and also try to get them registered to vote. Knocked on the doors and say, "What do y'all need?"
How did people react to it? Like, what was some of the experience that you've been through when you're doing this?
Some were a little hesitant, but then when I told them what it's about, what we plan to do, people are not as confrontational as they make the hood seem so confrontational that people are like, get away. No, I had a little boy and I'm saying, listen, I'm taking a survey. I want to know what your needs and your concerns of the community. What do you want to see next? So I asked about school. I asked about apartments. I asked about the grocery stores. I asked about what do you think our community is in dire need of? And of course they said school. They said housing. And it was just those two registered the most. Schools, housing. Those two really registered out the most. And so our goal was originally to do housing. So housing in the school. We had a spot of land by our church right on that is Livonia and underneath the train line. So, but we didn't get it. We got it on instead. We got it on Riverdale, by Riverdale, and so 2008 when we did that, that was my goal. I said I'm going to church. We're gonna put our heart in trying to develop something. And goodness of God, we built a 140 low income senior housing, 114 apartment with a full senior center. I was running a youth program out of it. It was supposed to be intergenerational. So I was picking up kids from.
I remember.
Yeah. So part of my goal was I know there was a lot of single parents in my church. There's a lot of parents in the neighborhood that they're from the Caribbean. They're from all over where they're single parents, where they're working long jobs and their kids are home by themselves. So I said, you know what? I'll pick up your kids for you from school. Pick them up in the morning. So I'll pick up the kids in the church van, if you remember.
Mm-hmm. I remember.
6 o'clock. I pick them up in the church
van.
van.
So what's the name? The church driver. What's his name?
Quincy.
Quincy. Shout out to Quincy. Quincy. How's he doing, by the way? Side
note. He's good. He's good. So my route started at 6:30. I went around picking up some of the church kids, some of the kids in the neighborhood, took them to school. Then came back and picked them up from after school's over, took them to the after school center for about 30 kids, sometimes it's about 40 kids. had kids come and help them with their homework, check their homework, make sure it was done, then took those same 30 kids home. So that was my day. It was from 6 to 8:30, 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. in the night.
I definitely remember that.
Yeah. So all day, I made sure I was trying, again, the need that I'm going to make sure that I try to help the parents in the neighborhood who couldn't go to and speak to the teachers. Like, and I became that person where they couldn't come to the PTA meeting, I would show up. And we rented out a old laundromat and turned it into a computer center. I got companies to donate old computers, and I made a computer center for them to like job preparedness. If you needed help with your resume, if you needed help with your GED. So we did all that scot-free. That was on my money. You know what I'm saying? That was on the church dime. So we made sure we put everything back into the community where normally taking care of your kids and whatnot, putting them in the school, having a service to pick them up, tutoring, homework help. That you're talking about, that's hundreds of dollars. Not for us. I'm talking about basically free.
And I've been to that center many times. And the one thing you didn't mention, you hired young people, young men,
right.
young females. And you gave them many different positions. And on top of that, if you need a snack, there was a kitchen right downstairs.
That's it. I made sure we had people. We had this part of the city donate food so that I can feed those kids dinner. Basically, if they went home with no food, at least I had like not like no snack. We had dinner.
Ooh, I remember
chicken, rice.
I remember
pizza, like so. Right, and I made sure, and the goal was, and it's still the same thing. If you worked for me, right? So right now, the people that work for me, that they at that time they were 15 and 16. Now they went to college, graduated, and so the people that work for me, we made that was the goal, because I made sure I gave them a goal too. You got to go to college. You know, you want to take this money, you got to make sure you go to college, make sure you prepare your future. And now, I mean, all those workers that work for me, Colleen, graduated from Chrissy, got her master's. Yeah, so it was all on purpose. Therefore, in the community, whatever we put into the community is that it comes back. You know what I mean? Those people that get carried. The goal was not to leave. Now, you can move out. It's some people move out, but it's always to put it back to make sure we serve back people of our community. That's when I left my job. That was when I resigned. That was the mission. Do something for the community that can last, and thankfully, thank God, we did it.
Yeah, like to anybody that, if you're not in Brooklyn or get a chance, right by Riverdale, the place is beautiful. They have the elderly, and like I remember, like when I used to go there a lot, you was very personal, even with the elderly people who lived there. You knew their name. There was some guy that used to watch movies every day. That's all he did every single day, just watch movies.
Yeah. You like come watch it with him. Yeah. Because well, a lot of these seniors, their kids sometimes was out of state, and so a lot of them felt like lonely. They was at retirement age and they felt lonely. So I would go in their apartments, help them set up their computer. I have small talk, and small talk goes a long way. You know what I mean? Especially with people who don't have family. And it was for me to go in, help them with the computer, have small talk. How's your grandkids? How's your daughter? How's your day going? That went a long way. The real goal behind that is what I'm saying. When I told you before, this window of opportunity, I'm saying it from a personal experience. You know what I mean? Like that, God said, resign, right? And I know some people might be arguing, did God say? I felt an urge that my time in this career, and I was worried what I would do next. And I can say, right, you know what I mean? 2008, left, I was worried what I'm going to do. I'm not prepared for it. because I'm more of a scheduled plan man, and it's important to have one. But my timing, and I can say, 2008, I left. I haven't looked back yet. We built 114 senior housing, no income housing. Built a community center. We put people through college. It's still funding itself. Ran an after school center. We ran a summer camp. And all these.
I remember that. Okay.
But
that
what I'm
all
saying
sounds good. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Follow. You know they say follow your dreams. How it's not cliche.
You're right. That's all good and all, but
Okay.
I know that during the time you was married, you didn't have kids yet, right?
Yeah, no, I didn't.
So, all right,
How did
that's
that-
all
yeah.
good and all, but
Yeah.
how did your lady take the news, dogs?
Not great. I'll tell you the truth. Not great. Because you're talking about now you are operating on one income, right? And so this is why marriage is important. Who you marry is important. Like,
You better preach. You better preach, preacher man.
But
You better
she has to buy into your vision, right? And you have to tell her about it too. Where
So walk me through that, dogs. Like walk me through. I want to set this up for you. I want to get like a visual image.
Right.
You know, it's important to us for the viewers. Like walk me through it. So God told you leave your job, you resign, right?
Yeah,
and
a few times. It was a few times. Yeah.
Okay, a few times, and finally, you know, you being Steve, I know you are personally. You like, you know what, God?
All right.
I'm done.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
Right.
Walk me through the first conversation,
Right.
and walk me through the moment when she realized that I'm behind you, boo. I got you. Then rub your. You didn't have a bald head yet, did you?
I did.
Did she rub your bald head?
It was low season. Low season.
You was in denial.
Yeah. Yeah, I was fronting. Yeah, I kept lining it up. And it's like, now keep that. Now keep it. You know, yeah. You go to the barber and the barber's like, yo, it's time for you to go. I'm like, nah. I need to hold on every little piece of it. I need it.
So walk me.
Hold
on. Look at my certificate.
You know how it is. I know. All the bald people out there, you go to your barber and your barber says, nah, line that up. Like, nah, man. You need to sit down. Yeah.
Okay. Woo. So walk me through. Put me in your shoes, dog.
Okay.
Tell me about the whole process.
Well, because here's it is. You get married and the vision is one thing, right? And as you get, you get married.
What was the version of vision?
We both made solid incomes. We was going to, we were staying. We was living in her mother's basement because we just got married, paying off that home. We was trying to save up to buy a home. So we had like a whole 2 years time to buy our own house. We're going to be in my basement for a living. 2 years time, we're going to buy a house and live the regular, married, 2 kids.
American dream.
Yeah, the Americans have the white picket fence and the dog and the fish, right? The whole American dream. And then, we the first conversation was it didn't go well. I was like, I think God is telling me, but at that time, it didn't go well.
Slick. God, you put God in front of it.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, I was battling whether he was talking to me or not because of my insecurities about what I was going to do because I didn't have a solid plan. You know what I mean? I was saying, I don't know if I'm going to be in this career because I started the grind of waking up, and you start getting a sign whether you hate being on the train. You just hate waking up in the morning. It's that you can't look. You sitting down and looking for the clock. You can't. You set your clock to 5. You're like, man, when is that clock? And me and my friends had that GTC. We call ourselves the GTC because we was at the point where we were so tired we would just say, get the check. GTC, it's coming in for the check. There was no social. I was just annoyed. I mean, I'm sure some of your viewers know where you get tired of doing this grind. There was no excitement. So I knew something was changing, but I just didn't know what. So when I went to her the first time, I was like, I think that it's it for me. She looked at me and like, it for you where? And then of course, going through all our bills that we played, and I'm not disparaging at all. That was exactly right. And so I put it off for like another 2 years, right? Put it down, and I kept walking. Yeah, it didn't go right back because that's what happens. See, most people make it seem like, okay, you have this moment of you thinking that, oh, God's telling you, you put it down and you come pick it up a week later. I put it down and I picked it up 2 years later. But it stayed in the back of my mind.
2 years?
Yes. Until I knew I couldn't escape it. There was no escaping it. And I came, and this time I think I was a little bit more assertive. I was like, I think this is really my time. And then we had a conversation of, okay, how are we going to do this? What do you see? What is the vision? I said, I really need to do more for the community. Now, mind you, I've always done something for the community. I've been working in the community when I'm 17 years old. Been in the community, feeding, going to the homeless shelter, all the time. But I knew I need more. I need to do more. There was more for me to do. So it wasn't easy. But again, when you have a partner, I'm not just partner in life, my visions, my aspirations, my motivation, and they know that they can trust that you're going to get what it is done. She came along, and we haven't looked back yet. That's my writing. Yeah, that's my writing. That's what she.
Solid queen. Solid queen.
Solid. We ride for each other. You know what I mean?
Shout out to you for marrying a black woman. Had to point that out. Shout out to you having some beautiful black kids. Yo, bro, listen, King. Like, I'm just saying though, like, listen, there's nothing wrong marrying outside your race though, but just because you marry outside your race, you don't have to disrespect the black queen like the way that some people do though. So I always make sure that I always find the queens, because let's be serious. When a black woman say, "You okay, sugar?" No, I'm not. Yet I'm hugging her. Yeah. So,
and I can say, I mean, there were moments where I did hold back, where I did hold back on how I really felt. But I can say that she's always been there to actually hear what I have to say. So, shout out to the queen.
Shout out. So basically, you got your wife on board. You're doing good. It sounds like you're
Well, I wasn't doing that good.
Well,
I got a wife on board, but there was no income coming in yet. But
of course. Like, I just mean like in the basic on the staples of like overall, taking a look back, your grand plan, what you're doing for the community, worked out eventually. It may not have been your 5-year plan, even a 10-year plan, but it worked out according to the timing that it's supposed to work out, and it did. So that's what I said.
It did. I can't say. I can't. I mean, again, it wasn't. I can't say it was let me just say, make sure it wasn't a single person effort. Like, it was a singular. It wasn't just me. It was. Man, I can't tell you how it's important to get a team of people, or you surround yourself with a team of people that is fighting in the same direction. Like, we were all had the vision of it, the whole entire church, and we was pulling in the same direction. It was no one down moments, up moments, insecure moments, unstable moments. We all knew this is the vision, and no matter how long it takes, this is what we're going to do. You got to get yourself a team that believes in that too. That's important.
I definitely preach that. Even with mine, me doing my podcast and my show, I realized that it's important to have a team. And I realized that. Shout out to Cat Williams. This is a crazy reference, but he said that you got to get yourself a team, because what I realized is, yes, I am good at a lot of things, but I need people who are master at these skills.
Yeah. Absolutely right.
So I definitely believe that too. So, man, let's get some of like the most like. So I got some couple of questions that people. I told a couple of people, I discussed when we was in the blue room earlier. One of the first questions I gotta say is, dang, that could come out very harsh, but like I might as well go off the gun. Is, yo, certain people feel like this is the white man religion. You know, they feel like that Jesus is really white. I mean, Jesus is really black. What we believe in is not, you know, like, you know what the common things you say that they basically enslaved us and forced a religion onto us and teach us about Jesus. But then, you know, people like Nat Turner realize like, dang, this is not for us. So how are you able to, what is your answer to that when people say you're worshiping your religion is basically based on for white doctrine? What do you say to that?
I say the good thing about these times, and not even these times, the good things about these times is that it is exposing a lot of lies, right?
Give me an example.
Well, the white man religion, this is a lie. That's westernized European view of the gospel. Now, the truth is, slave master did manipulate scripture. There is what you call a slave Bible, where they took out the account of Exodus, right? Where the children of Israel, was in Egypt, and they had the whole Moses came and said, "Let my people go." They manipulated scriptures where they took out that account, right? So that this is one of the reasons why, you know, they didn't want to educate slaves, because then you start reading on your own and you realize.
Shout out to Nat Turner.
And which is why when he learned to read and started reading the scriptures, it was the Bible that was the force, that motivating force to realize that what they were doing was wrong. So the truth is, there were Christians in Africa, Christians in India, Christians in China, way before it got to the United States. I think his name is Dr. Bantu. I want to give him his Dr. Bantu, Bantu. He has a book that has it's called The Multitudes of All People. It's a good book. It tells you about how Christianity was believed, and there was sects of Christians in Africa and all over the world before it got to America. So it's true, they manipulated scriptures. They left things out for us to believe that slavery was correct. So they manipulated scripture. You know, it was never a white man religion. They manipulated and used scriptures like everybody does to make it say what they want to say. That's the thing with scriptures. When people, they can use it to make it say what they want it to. That's all. It's never been a white person religion. It's been an all people religion. It's been for everyone. And that's why when you do read it, everything in the Bible is about justice. Everything about God is about liberation.
Give us an example, dog.
Look at Exodus. Look at the book of Exodus. Look at people were enslaved for 400 years. And
that's a good example. So some people like trying to cut you off though, but dang, you got to go to tell the story of the Exodus. But go ahead. I'm gonna say it.
Since Moses,
Exodus,
right?
Since Moses is you right, because he told them, he went to the Pharaoh. You know, I'm gonna say more of a terminology I understand it. Like he said, "Yo, bro, let my people go, bro. Like, don't do this to me." And then God was setting different signs like lotuses and stuff like that to say that, yo, let the people go. This is what's going to happen. It was added to retaliation. Okay, you're right.
Well, if anyone, when you pick up the Bible, especially, I think it's Isaiah that says tons of I've come to set the captives free. I've come to for the brokenhearted. I've come to liberate. Everything about God, everything about scriptures is at the heart of God is liberation. At the heart of God is justice. At the heart of God is love your neighbor as thyself. That's the commandments. At the heart of Jesus, everything's about the loving of another person. When you talk about racism and sexism and being biased and discrimination and prejudices. All you're talking about ill hate. I'm not talking about that. And so when I hear people say the white man's religion, it just takes some time. Research.
Educate yourself. Yeah, educate yourself.
Yeah.
So,
and I think I'm at that point right now, and that's why I love these times. The times that we are living in is that you hear that a lot. Go educate yourself. Go educate yourself. Right? You can Google it. You can find these black theologians that can tell you, nah, it's not true. If anything, the Bible is the reverse. It doesn't keep you oppressed. It looks to free you.
So about free. I agree, but let's also get to the topic of like another question someone asked me throughout the whole years, and I'm looking like I don't know how to really answer this. So I'm confused for the answer. There's kind of a personal question, and the answer I hear for everybody is gay people within the church, right? Hear me out. You know, I know it's kind of a touchy subject during this whole time. Yeah. You know, shout out to the gay community. I did y'all.
Shout out.
You know, shout out to y'all because I have a lot of good friends in that community. Yeah. But the one thing that someone will say is like, hey, you know, someone told me this, a couple of people told me this in church. It's like, it was all good when I was in the choir and it kind of knew I was gay. But the moment I stopped doing choir work, they were shunning me. So my question is this, is where, yo, gay people feel like they can't go to church because they don't get judged based on who they like, you know. Right. And you said earlier, you know, the Bible's for everybody. So what is your like I won't say ideology, but what is your response to that question? Like, why is gay people so shunned, but yet when they're singing and dancing, it's okay? Yeah.
Not all churches. I won't say that. Let me just put that. Not all churches. I think the way that the church has gotten better. I think the church has always have a problem with addressing issues. You know, that's just how it is. Back in, I guess maybe the generation twice before me, the way they handled what they thought was issues was always either silence or brush it under the rug, bury it. And I think right now we're in a time where it's just open, we can have honest conversation. And I think, once again, love, the power of love is amazing. And it's not all churches. I think it's some churches that has an issue with how to deal with it. And they don't realize a soul is a soul. And so for me, my thing is always love. I have gay people that attend my church. And you know, I don't get into judging. I see souls. I see how would Jesus handle it? How did Jesus handle people? And I realized that his tact was always love, right? And I think that's the way I approach it. Who am I? Who am I? You know, and the way they see it is that, oh, they have issues. Oh, they have issues. Yeah, we do too. we got them too.
Yeah, we do.
I mean, we just do. Some of us just do a better job at hiding it, and masking it. Love, man. I can't tell you how much how would Jesus do it? I've never seen him.
Said, like, you just said people have a way of masking, you know. I don't know, I don't even remember this. This happened a while ago. I was 23 years old, and I was just like, yo, everyone's around me, everybody looking like they perfect, this, that, and third. And you said something to me where you was just like, they have a better way. They put you don't know about the errors because they don't do it in the street. Right. You do it out in the open because that's how the person you are. So you're going to get ridiculed. Right. And that, to me, that's equivalent to
equivalent. I got you. Equivalent.
That word.
I got you.
That word. Yeah. That word is like when you put your business out on the internet, you're subject to get judged.
That's right.
Because you put it out there in public. Right. And that's a great point. Okay, fine. You know.
I think the church has gotten better at it. I think the churches definitely have gotten better at it as times as times change, the church has got better at handling their issues. And I don't even want to put like, this is an issue, because it has gotten way more attention than it rightfully at one point it should, and now I think the church is becoming better at handling all type of things that we've been secretive. We've been secretive about sex. We've been secretive about pornography. We've been secretive about addictions. We've been secretive about a whole bunch of things. Like, we never used to go to church, and the church never spoke to all of your conditions. You know what I mean? He used to say, just pray about it. That was their remedy. Just go pray. Even mental health. Mental health, it was one of those areas
just
where
about to ask you that.
Go pray about it, right? And so we have done in the past. I think we're improving. I'm not saying we're all the way there. We have done a better job at understanding that it's deeper sometimes. And let me, prayer works, but it's still, there's other practical things. Go get counseling. At one point, that was looked at as demonic. Go get counseling. Speak to somebody.
That's a white man. That's a white people.
Yeah. Or that's demonic. You just pray about it. Nah, I need to talk to somebody. I need to talk to somebody. And the Bible says, confess your faults one to another, right? That's the reason why he's saying that. Confess it one to another, because he understands you need that kingship. You need that relationship with someone to talk to with your problem. So I'm gonna give the church credit, and I'm gonna knock the church when I need to. You know me, I'm gonna be fair. I knock it when we talked about young people. We're not as authentic. That's why people leave the church, because we're not authentic. I know you was going to ask me that. I know you was going to ask me about why young people leaving the church, because we are not authentic. They see us, find us to be hypocrites. That we say one thing and we do another thing, and so that's what it is. They can't get with people that's not authentic. And so I do believe that that's our area, but we're getting better, just like everybody else.
Okay. You're 100% right, because that was like two things you brought up was mental illness, and another thing I noticed with a lot of young people in the church. With the mental illness on my side, I just felt that, I guess not to put to my own horn. I felt that I was ahead of my time. I was ahead of the curve in front of everybody. Everyone was just like, "Are you crazy? You need to pray about it. The devil talking to you." And I'm looking at people like, that's all good and all. I'm talking to God, but you have to understand, though, I still have these thoughts of killing myself. So you saying all of this stuff is all good, though, but like, it doesn't beat it's something in my head. Like, you better go kill yourself because you added all of this. Thank God.
It was in the Bible, though. Elijah thought about killing himself.
But again, some people don't address that. I'm not putting no names, nothing like that. But it's hard for a young man who's dealing through it. And then, thank God that's been a whole year. I haven't thought about suicide. My thoughts been clear and everything. Like, thank God to that. But that's why a lot of young people I know around my age, they've been young, and they said, you brought up a great point. The church is not authentic enough, because, for example, if a young person is smoking weed, he's the devil, this, that, and third. But yet, I'm looking at, I see what you mean. I see your POV, though, but you take Advil, you take Motrin and all those stuff with 500 different side effects. While with weed, depending on the strand, if you don't want the high effect, the THC, you get CBD, you rub on your body, you drink, you have to fall asleep, and it's all natural. But yet, if I take a sleeping aid, I sleep, but yet there's a chance that it said I can get insomnia. It dead says it's on the box, some of them.
Right.
So my thing is this, though, is, yes, you said the church is getting better. Okay, cool. Bump everyone else. What are you doing as a pastor to ensure that young people feel like this is their home, that no matter what happens, they always could call this home and always come back to it?
Well, one of the things I know, by not addressing their issues, I make it worse. That's just one. By not addressing it, I make it worse. Secondly, I know that if I make them feel like their issues make them feel like they're different, I make it worse. If I make it seem like their issues that they're going through are uncommon, like I'm not having them, then they try to live up to this perfection, and that makes it work. That makes it worse. So all these things, when somebody comes to me with issues, because in church, I think not church, let me just say everywhere, we do this measuring, right? We measure each other, and we tend to say they are better than us. They're better than me. They're not struggling with the same thing. And church is a way where everybody got their spiritual life together. Everybody's doing well. Everybody's hearing from God. And that's just not true. Some of us are just messes. We just know how to clean up well. You know what I mean? We're better at...
Say that again. Say that again.
It's the truth. We're better at dressing up our issues. We're better at cleaning up about issues than somebody else. And so it's me that I really want to create an atmosphere where if I create an atmosphere of love, you would not feel uncomfortable about talking about your failures, right? If I know you're not going to be judged, if you know you're not going to be judged, you know you're not going to be ridiculed for moments or things that you're struggling or things that you're battling, you will be honest. We lie when we think we're going to be judged. Right? If I think you're going to judge me harshly, or if I feel what I'm going to say is outside the norm, I'm going to lie about it, or I'm pretend I don't have it. But if I know the atmosphere is mature enough to handle my pain, I'm going to release it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think, but that's true. Not everybody's mature enough to handle your pain. And so you have to be wise and discern who you give your pain to. You know what I mean? Because you may give it to somebody, but they may not be able to handle or coach or advise you through it. You know what I mean? So that's why the Bible says it. I think it's Psalms 1. Blessed is the man that walketh not in the counsel. You know, sometimes we counsel just don't have it all together. So I think we're working on creating an environment that accepts all people, and we're all getting better, right? We're not there yet. That's why I need, because I know this is ongoing progress, not only for the church as an institution.
You're right. I'll be very real with you. That answer touched my heart, because that was like one of the things that people will ask me, because you know me, you saw my metamorphosis. You saw my metamorphosis in church, out of church, whatever. Yeah. And like the most common thing I always say is, I don't really say this. I used to say this at first when I was left, but now I realize that politics is everywhere. You know, I go to work, there's politics. You know, podcast game, there's politics. You know, NBA, there's politics. You know, it's just, you can't escape politics. You can't. Like, let's be serious here. Like,
wherever there's people, there's preferences. Wherever there's people.
Exactly. And I think that's the one thing a lot of churches lack, that people tell me is lack of like being like authentic. You know, like everyone always say that I can't go to church because it's full of hypocrites. But I always say that I get what you mean, but your job is full of hypocrites. But then someone told me I expect that from my job. I expect that for everyone else. But in church, I expect to be, instead of people doing this to me, I expect just doing this. You know, one of the examples that someone told me was, I got ridiculed for wearing a club dress, but that's the only thing I had. But yet, if I came wearing jeans, it's going to be a problem. So this is a lose-lose situation.
Yeah. I think, again, not all churches. Let me just do that. I never lump all churches. You know that too. And I guess people... And I don't blame them, because sometimes when you have one bad experience at a particular church, the same way they say, "Oh, men are dogs." No, the man you was dealing with is a dog. And it's the same thing with churches. You had a bad experience with the church, so what now? For all church is plastered or smeared with that bad experience. And I get it, but not all churches believe that. Not all churches are unaccepting. Not all churches are unauthentic. Not all churches believe what other churches. That church where you went to probably, but not all churches are that way. But wherever there's people, and I think that's my stance is, I'm still growing. I'm still growing, you know. And if I don't know it, I say I don't know it. If I haven't gotten there, I have no problem with. I'm comfortable saying, listen, I don't know. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. The only person that I know have all the answers is God, and that's it. So we're all learning together. And when you come to me with your problems or something, or even when the first time you came to me and I was like, listen, like, I don't know, but we can walk through this journey together. We can walk.
You did say
together.
that. You
I
did
don't
say
know.
that.
You know, I just know I say where you want to be. You set the destination to where you want to be, and we walk. We just take it one day at a time and walk to that destination together. And look at you now, like you know what I'm saying, a day at a time. So I hopefully those that are listening, I hope you do find a church. Here's why I believe what people neglect. They neglect their spirit. You know, it doesn't get enough attention as it should. We feed our minds, we feed our bodies, but we don't feed our spirit as much as we should. And the reason why church is essential, because you need somebody. The same way you go to the doctor, right? You go to the doctor and the doctor tells you about your medical condition. These pastors, at least, we study this. We study. We put hard work in it. We put our hard work in studying scripture to make sure that our spirit is fed. And some of us are not. We healthy. We might be healthy physically, we fed educationally, but spiritually we lack. And I think a lot of times it's on the spirit level where things are not right. And sometimes you need somebody to tell you need to get your life together, right? You need to get your life together. And that's why church is always going to be essential. It's an essential business. And I wish, that those viewers out there, if you find a good church home. It's a family that you never had. I know Mr. Black, he used to, but he gonna come back. He coming back. He back. Don't let him fool you. He gonna be back in church at one point, and it's just a matter of the atmosphere, people, the fellowship, the accountability. I cannot tell you. Every person needs somebody they need to be accountable to and responsible for, and it sets good values and standards. And so I can go on about the church, and I digress. But
you're right.
Churches. There are good churches out there.
There is, like, I have to say, like you said, like, when I first went to the church, and you could attest to this. You remember when I was like 22, 23, I was still young in the faith, and like, you're right, it gave me core value. It gave me a sense of family, it gave me a sense of community, it gave me a sense of purpose. It taught me a lot of life skills to this day I still use. Carpet cleaning. It taught me how to wax floors. It taught me how to paint a wall. Some people think that painting a wall is simple. No, there's an art form and technique to it. Yes, Bishop Gabe was hella annoying. And I'm looking at him like, yo, he's mad annoying. But then I realized that,
discipline.
Oh, shoot, you got to paint the wall, because we don't paint it. You know what I'm talking about. There's like a certain streak. So when you look on it, you're looking like, okay, it's just wall. And I didn't realize that little stuff. You're right. Church did give me a foundation that I was lacking. But the one thing that a lot of people will say is, like, for example, if I told some church people, like, God still talks to me. I actually had a conversation with somebody like a while ago. And I was just like, yo, listen, I'm not in church, but I feel like I feel God more ever since I left it. What do you mean? That's impossible. God doesn't talk to you. I'm looking like, just because I'm not in church, it doesn't mean that God does not talk to me. God don't come to my dreams. God don't give me visions of the future. It doesn't mean that God does not walk with me. Just because I'm not in his place doesn't mean that I'm not giving honor and glory everything I do. So some people to answer that question, people who say that, yo, God still is using me, whatever.
What do I say to them?
Yes. I don't need church.
Well, no, I think you need church. But let me just go to the first. God doesn't. If you believe that God created you, then God is always a part of you. Period. If God created you, then he's always, and that's what we believe. So any Christian that says God doesn't talk to you, he's not understanding. If God created you, your creator will still talk to you. Period. He's going to talk to his creation, right? He's going to talk. Now they may argue. I'm not gonna get into arguing of what he's saying. I'm not gonna get into that. God talks to anybody, right? He talks to anybody he wants to. He talks to anybody he wants to because he still is working out a purpose in your life, and you know that purpose in his life. Yeah, he does. He still works out a purpose in everybody's life, whether you're in church or out of church. He still works out a purpose in all of our lives. And what they're arguing is the path. Right, they arguing the pathway to God or the path that you're taking, and so that's what it is. Your path. We can't argue. I'm not arguing your path. You're directional. I told you at one point in your life too that the cross has many different roads. We all have different ways to get it. How we see God. Some people see Him from the left. Some people see Him from the right. Some people see Him from the west. Some people see Him from the south. And I can't argue because I see God from the west view. That to argue from God at the south view. You know what I mean?
That is true.
We all see Him differently. And that's what they argue. They argue in perspective. How you see Him and your path to it. When you told me that, I told you, if He's talking to you still, amen. Now, here's why you need church. Here's why. Now I'm not going to necessarily say, because some people say you need to be church every single week. All right. I believe church is a place just for food for your spirit, right? Same way you go to eat. This is food for your spirit. And you can't make your own diet because then you would eat what you want. You would eat, I told you that already. You would read what you want, hear what you want. The reason why you go to, it's like when you are a kid, you want to eat cookies all day long. You know what I mean? You eat cookies at McDonald's and whatnot. You understand how unhealthy you are. But your parents keep you in line and say, no, you're going to eat your vegetables. You're going to eat this cauliflower. You're going to eat this Brussels sprout because they understand the nutritional value. Church is for the spirit. It gives you nutritional value, right? It gives you that pastor, whoever he is, whoever you go through, he studied all week long, 2 weeks long, because he has this word that he needs to get to you. I'm going to use me for particular. I know the state of my congregation. I know where God is taking them, and I'm making sure I'm studying to give you a word to get to where you need to go next. Some of you need to hear you need to stop what you're doing. And some need to hear you know what I mean? And that's why we have parents, because the parents are going to, yes, they're going to be loving, but they're going to have to tell you what you need to hear. Not all the time we are going to give ourselves the nutritional value. We'll just tell ourselves what we want. We'll stop reading the Bible. We won't be as, church is that place where, again, you get discipline, but you get humility. You understand that this world, this life is bigger than you. That there's greater purpose than, yes, you want to make money. You want to make money, be a big time star and influential. The church reminds you that you got to serve. That service is your greatest thing. That you have to give back, and that's why we go to church. Mind, and again, everybody need that fellowship where somebody else can say, "See, I got you. I've been praying for you all week. Yeah, I've been praying about you. How you been?" It is. So, find yourself a good church. There's a lot of love there.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I have to say, like, some of my greatest memories in my church kept me out of trouble. Like, just think about right now, just what you say, find yourself a good church, the fellowship, the pointers of it being a brotherhood. It was like, you was there some Monday nights and Thursday nights with the basketball. We had a little basketball tournament. Like, it was like it kept us in check. Like, what you did over there with your church. You hired some of my friends in the church and stuff like that. You kept them by the money in their pocket. Even in my church, like, shout out to Bishop G, and like even stuff that he did for me, like he put money in my pocket. He didn't have to. Yeah. And you're right, like it was a sense of fellowship, it was a sense of brotherhood. Even with someone I call my people laugh like, yo, how many dads do you have? Mind your business, audience. Mind your business.
You got a lot of dads.
Like, shout out to in my head, he's still Deacon West. Shout out to him. And like he had a different philosophy how to do stuff. And one thing he taught me is no matter what you go through, no matter what it is, always be nice to people. You know, and people who watch and who know me personally,
right?
I'm kind of a jerk. Kinda. Like I am a jerk sometimes. But if you know me deeply, you know that he has a heart of gold.
Jerk. Yeah, you're a little big teddy bear.
Well, Steve, not that big. I ain't.
Yeah.
200 pounds no more.
Right. You're a smaller beer now. Yeah, a little cub.
Yeah. I have calmed down. I'm woosaying, you know. And you're right. Everything you're saying is right with the whole church. It's just
churches.
My thing is, you know, just add my little sense of the sauce to it, my song to it is just. You mentioned something that have a sense of like people working on their mental and their physical. You know, people don't understand it's a tribe. You know, you got to work on your body to make sure that you're able to run, do what you have to do. You got to work on your mental because if that goes, everything else goes. You forget your spiritual side. Like, what do you believe in? You know, what do you lie your faith in? You know, as someone who is faithless and it was just saying the sense of I have no purpose and direction. And like, you're right, a man needs to be somewhat well-rounded, not just a man. I'm not talking about this man as a man, woman, just like mankind. It just gotta be well-rounded. You know, gotta be one-rounded person, like a basketball player. You know, shout out to your brother Chris Paul. You know, I just like to say that.
that's my favorite player.
Of course, I know that, dog. And the one thing that they say is Chris Paul is one of the greatest point guards because he has everything that a point guard needs. Mm-hmm. He's a general, pass, score, and he knows how to win. You know, yes, he didn't get to the finals, but he's still a valuable piece to any team. You know, shout out to like even matter of fact, someone who has the rings, Isaiah. You know, that's like this is why Isaiah is one of the greatest point guards because he's a leader. You know, the Bad Boys Pistons want to be nothing if Isaiah didn't have that sense of generalness, being a general. Yeah. And he was on the floor. And he could pass, he could score, he could win. Those four things, of course, there's other stuff, but those main four things allows you to be a winner in the league that you're in. Yeah. And what I got what you just said was
take care of your spirit.
Take care of your spirit, you know.
You need
to be an overall winner, take care of your spirit.
Because they all, remember, the emptiness in your spirit will pull from your physical, right? Because they all trying to feed on it. If your spirit is empty, it's going to pull on your mental, right? And so what happens is you end up being drained because it's pulling. It needs attention.
How would a person knows that their spirit is empty?
I think it's a level of this level of unrest. A level of unrest.
Do you have any examples?
Well, you ever felt like extremely tired, no matter how much sleep you got, right? No matter how much sleep you have, you're just tired. And I believe sometimes this is a spiritual tired where it's you just don't feel as inspired or motivated, right? Because it's all deeper on the conscience level, right? That's it's deep in the soul of who you are, purpose, and where you need to. Some people say center, meditation, but the Bible says that you need to meditate day and night. It's a level where it's not just it's a moment of clearing out your heart, your thoughts. It's a deeper sense of awareness. It is a form of almost meditation, like that I meditate day and night, as the Bible says in Psalms, where it is the prayer life, where your devotional life. It's these things that we sometimes overlook because we get busy. You know, life is difficult. Where you need 15 minutes. For me, that practice 15 minutes in the morning of early in the morning, that before you do anything, you pray. That you say, you know what, I'm preparing for my day. God, remember me, all the things I'm about to do. Remember my agenda, my family, all the stuff that I have going on in my life. Remember the burdens that I'm dealing. You know what I'm saying? It's just to get your head centered, the heart centered, and I think church is one of those things. We don't forget your soul. That we believe that this is not the end for us. After this, there is another life.
Okay, but
and let me just say something.
Talk to me.
I don't believe that anybody is faithless. I believe everybody operates in some form of faith. When you get on the plane, you have faith that it's going to reach its destination, right? You have faith that pilot that he went to school for aviation, that he's going to get you from New York to Tahiti. You have faith. Do you see him? Sometimes you never see him, do you? That door is closed. No. Right. Sometimes if you don't want to open the door, and sometimes if you're walking by, they say bye and hi to you. If that door remains closed and you walk by it, you never see that pilot. You buckle up. You just hear his voice now and again. He says, fasten your seatbelt. He says, we're going to hit turbulence. He said, you hear him over the loudspeaker. You hear him over the loudspeaker. He says, put your buckle on. We're about to hit turbulence. He says, you could walk around the cabin. The air is clear. Then he'll say, oh yeah, we're about to land in 10 minutes. You never see him, but all these tell you have faith in where you're going. So we all operate in faith. That's why when people say, how can you serve God? You don't see him. Sometimes you don't see the pilot either, but you believe he's going to take you where you need to go. Same like God. You hear his voice periodically over the loudspeaker, over the announcement. That same thing with you. God every now and again speaks to you and say, hey, this is about to be a tough time. Buckle your seatbelt up. Hey, Black, you're about to head a patch in your life. It's a little bit rough. And you say, okay, God.
Like, you're right. Like, one of the greatest examples was when, with my situation, to the viewers who don't know, I'll probably make an episode about it and just talking about what I've been through in my life journey. Well, like, you want to know I've been through. And you remember I always tell you that, man, Steve, I just don't know, man, but I just know that God got my back, I can't see. I remember, I always say that.
Yeah.
I always say, I was like, I don't know what's going on, Steve, but just know that it's going to work out. I couldn't see I couldn't see it, but it worked out. Even with having faith, where a person who's quote unquote faithless is when you go and pick up a bag of Doritos, right? I guess pick up a nacho cheese. Right. You have faith in it, it's going to taste like nacho cheese. It's going to taste like the quality that Doritos is supposed to give you. Yep. And the moment you don't taste that quality, you go,
yeah,
okay.
Restaurants, when we go out to anywhere, we have faith that
it's going to be good.
That chef is not having a bad attitude. You know what I'm saying? That he don't have a bad attitude that day when he's spitting your food. You go to McDonald's, we have faith. We don't know what they're doing back there. We have faith that the food is going to be good, and we eat it. We don't know where it's been, but we have faith that it's going to be at a certain quality. So we all exercise in some form of faith and trust. You know what I mean? It's just that we take our faith and we have in that greater hope. Somebody a little bit higher than McDonald's, higher than a pilot. You know what I'm saying? We have faith that the goodness of God is going to take us to where we go next. Yeah.
Well, probably two more questions. The first one is, what advice do you have to young Black men out there? Yeah. Especially during this time with Black Lives Matter, the cops, and stuff like that. What wise wisdom do you have for us Black men out here? And boys, too.
Black people, period. Again, I'm extremely happy. There's a lot to do. I keep quoting myself on Facebook every now and again, and where I can finally relax in my Blackness. And I mean it, that I can actually relax in my Blackness, because for anybody that knows that every day you leave your house, there is this level of I have to kind of dull down who I am to make other people feel comfortable, especially in a corporate office. You know, sometimes it's just me. I'm the only brother. You know, we scan the room. I remember I heard somebody say we scan the room, see if we have another brother in there, and then when we do make eye contact, we all give each other that, and we're like, yeah, and you know, and it depends on how he responds. If you do that and he go, then now you gotta leave him alone. And you're like,
yeah,
like, yeah, you
a lot of people don't know that. Like,
if I see you,
people, they're not like, yeah. There's black and there's brothers.
Yeah, if you hit him with that and he go like this, then you be like, nah, leave it alone. All right, you ready to go. But if he hit you with that, you be like, all right, no, you know what I'm saying? Yeah,
he's a brother.
That's a brother. Yeah. So I think now is great times where I feel like things are changing a little bit where. And I'm not gonna cheer early. I'm just going to shout for this incremental moment. I'm gonna be glad for this moment. It's a long way to go, but we should celebrate small steps, right? I just fear that the air is gonna be different than it was maybe last year.
I agree.
I believe this is the moment you relax in your blackness. You don't relax in fighting for that blackness. You know what I mean? Where you relax in it, that you be who you are, right? I've said to myself that I'm not going to dull my blackness anymore. This is who I am. And again, normally sometimes we do things to make other people feel comfortable, right? Where I think if I be like, yo, what's up? They may feel uncomfortable about it. So I won't. I'll be like, hey, how are you? And it's not a matter of acting right. It's just a matter I'm trying to do something so they feel comfortable around, right? But I realize everything about me, my blackness, it's comfortable, it's fun, it's you know what I'm saying? And I think maybe in my mind, there's these small things where you thought you had to minimize it. You had to suppress it. I'm not suppressing it anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
What's up? How you doing? You good? And I'm not saying I'm going to be over like Black Power every time you say it. Wakanda forever. Like every room I walk into, you know what I'm saying? Mama Africa. You know what I mean? I'm not going to do that. You know what I'm saying? I just believe that now I want this generation. We realize that we want the generation after us. I want my kids to, when they walk into the room, they never have to feel that they're less than. You know what I mean? That they never feel like that the shade of their skin is not quality, or the shade of their skin is not as good, or that they wish that there's somebody else. I don't want my kids wishing that there's somebody else. I want them to be proud of this cocoa butter smooth skin that, you know what I'm saying, that they inherited, and know we're brilliant, we're amazing, we're creative, we're unique. We have something unique to our culture. We have this vibe that, again, you know what's up. You know what I'm saying? We the only one that we created our own subculture where we can talk to each other and be like, what's up? You know what I mean? But we know what's going on. I want them to be proud of that. And at the second time, don't be lackadaisical or complacent in where we are now. There's so much more. There's so much more for us. There's so much more for us to do as far as businesses, as far as money. I believe the dreams that you have for entrepreneurship, I think you should do it. While you have your hustle, have a side hustle. You know what I'm saying? That you grind so that you can indeed become your own employer. Become people that you can hire. Hire your own community, people from your community, where you give back and whatnot. That was my goal, was to start a business. I can hire people from the community, put them to work, put money in their pockets, empower them, and they can do the same thing over. So don't stop now. This is we at the beginning. This is the long way to go. But we should be happy where we are. We good. We had a good little place, little spot up, right?
Well, Steve, man, we're just about to end of the interview, brother, man. But before we end this interview, man, would it be too much for you to bless the Mr. Black Show with a prayer, dogs?
Yeah. Let's bow our heads. Lord, we thank you for our conversation. We thank you for all the ears, the listeners, the audience that's going to be attached to listening. Father, whatever their dreams, their passion, their vision that they have stored up inside, I pray that you give them a sense of urgency, a sense of passion, a sense of push, so that they recognize that there's a bit of opportunity for greatness. Give them the boldness that they can step into it, even not feel ready. God, remember Black. He's this platform. Continue to bless him and everyone attached so that when we look back at this 5 years from now, we understand that you were in him. And so, thank you. Amen.
Amen. Amen, brother, man. Well,
All right.
Steve, man, what can it before you leave, man? Like, where can it find you at? You know, give out your social media, the address of the church, you know, because after this, man, I expect that people want to like keep on following you.
Well, you know, at Hutchins, HUTCHST. That's Instagram. I do a lot more talking on Facebook. I really need to get with Instagram a little bit more. But Stephen Hutchinson, of course, Facebook, and then at Hutchins on Instagram. And the church, you know, you can find all the information. Calvary Church of God, COG.org, COEGinc.org. And all that information is there. If you look at Calvary Church of God on Facebook, all of our streams, all of the most sermons, services are there. The only 1 hour long, so it's not even that long. You know what I'm saying? And we made it where it could be a podcast where you can just listen to it as you go.
Yeah. Well, Steve, man, thank you, brother, man. Thank you for your time and services, and thank you for the audience out there, man. Please, please subscribe, hit the bell icon, man. Thank you for watching Mr. Black Show, man. And Big Bro, man. Hopefully I have you guest again, man. And
yes, sir.
Thank you, Steve,
Love.
Man.
Let me hit you with that.
Later. Later.